Party people, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined by Sean Foer for a game of Worlds Without Harmony. Sean is a professional game master, a video creator, and one of the most enthusiastic advocates for not just discovering games, but discovering the world of games beyond Dungeons & Dragons working in the space today. And that is coming from a guy who, Willem Dafoe voice, is a bit of a games enthusiast myself. You can head to the show notes to check out his Start Playing Games page to play a game with Sean at your table. As you'll hear in a minute, he is an absolute delight to play games with. Or you can check out his TikTok at scene_Foer, where he is constantly sharing game recommendations and tips and talking about like the world of games that are out there and how to make the most of this weird magical space that we all inhabit. The long and the short of it is that Sean is incredible, and I'm so happy that we got to share a game together. This was a really special episode for me. As always, you can find more information about everything that Sean's got going on in the show notes. Now, when Sean and I started talking about what we were going to play for the show, he really specified he wanted something with like a really strong, juicy faction element. He wanted a faction turn specifically. He wanted like big intrigue with powers moving in the background. And so I did what I often do, which is I put out a call on social media. You should follow me on Blue Sky and Tumblr at Jeff Stormer. If you don't, this is where I ask a lot of these things. I put out these calls, and I always specify self-promo more than welcome. And I got pinged on that post by Max at the Logbook Project on Tumblr. And truly, this is why I make these requests on social media, because today we are playing, frankly, a perfect recommendation for exactly what Sean is looking for, Worlds Without Harmony. Worlds Without Harmony is a game about ideological conflicts, unanswerable questions, and the people caught between them. Each game involves a tension, a specific irreconcilable ideological question, and uses those big, irreconcilable questions to build out factions and conflicts within a fictional world. And then players create the people that exist within those conflicts, people being pulled from one space to another, and you watch the sort of intrigue and conflict happen between the people representing this very big picture conflict. And the way that you represent all of that is by building an actual straight-up conspiracy board with a bunch of string and index cards and buttons. Let me be extremely clear here. Conspiracy boards are my favorite mechanic in games, and I wish we saw more of them. All of which is to say, this game is an absolute blast. It was the perfect energy for this episode. We had such fun with it. You can find more information about Worlds Without Harmony at logbook-project.com, or check the show notes for more information. But first, Present Jeff here with a quick update about what you can find at patreon.com/JeffStormer. Ignore what I may or may not say later in the episode if it's a different URL. In case you missed it, we launched a brand new Party of One side series on Patreon. I've wanted to do more sequel episodes and like returning guests for a really long time, and I realized I could just do that on Patreon. And thus, Party of One plus one deeper dives into the games, guests, and stories that we feature on the main feed. There are 3 episodes available right now on Patreon. That is Conflict of Interest with Senda, which is a gay, lesbian, forbidden romance spy drama. I can't sell that to you better than that. A special extra playthrough of Pale Dot with the game's designer Devin Nelson, and Jadzia Axelrod, my dear friend and creator of Galaxy the Prettiest Star, joins me for a special Galaxy fanfiction one-shot. All 3 episodes are really, really wonderful. We're releasing these episodes somewhere between bi-weekly and monthly, and that's on top of early access to Party of One episodes and games as they come out, the eventual return of Party of None, which is our solo actual-ish play podcast, and a whole lot more. You can find all of that at patreon.com/JeffStormer. Also, an ad. This episode is brought to you by Empress of Dust, a new science fantasy novel by Alex Kingsley. The novel is about a future where giant crabs have taken over the Earth and only one human city remains, and it follows a trans boy who gets lost in the desert wasteland and must befriend the crabs in order to return home. You can probably hear the excitement in my voice right there, because that's a fucking pitch. But also it keeps getting cooler, because there is also an accompanying tabletop RPG, Creatures of Ruin, in which you play as a human or a crab monster who also has magic powers, because of course they do. Both the game and novel have original monster illustrations that look sick as fuck, and are being published by Space Wizard Science Fantasy, a small press that specializes in queer science fiction and fantasy. The novel is available right now at Amazon or your bookstore of choice. The game will be available soon. You can find more information about both at spacewizardsciencefantasy.com or alexkingsley.org, and you can check out more of Alex's games at alexyquest.itch.io. And truly, one more time, that's a fucking pitch. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I am so excited. I've been looking forward to this recording all day. I'm sitting down with Sean Foer. Sean, thanks so much for coming on Party of One.
It is my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm really, I've been reading through the game that we're playing today, and I'm really excited. This is going to be so much fun. At the top of our episode, why don't you take a moment and let our lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on that you want them to know about?
Yeah, totally. My name is Sean Foer. I go by Scene 4 on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, where I make videos about I want to help people become GMs. I give out GM advice. I want to help new GMs try new games, for which I'm giving recommendations all the time. And generally, I want to open the doors to the RPG hobby and share this wonderful storytelling and collaborative game-playing medium with the world.
I really love your videos. One of the joys of my job here is that I get to just tell people that I like the things that they make. And I really enjoy your videos. I enjoy there is a level of clear work that goes into, like you were saying, the recommendations for games and encouraging people to really explore the hobby. And that passion and joy really comes across. And it's something that I think is incredibly valuable, and there's a really genuine enthusiasm behind it that I think is incredibly it gets you wrapped up in it, is what I would say.
Well, you did a slam dunk job of finding, this is one of the things I pride myself on is finding, listening to what people love about, RPGs or about media or storytelling, and then finding the RPGers okay, here's one that you would love. And you did a great job of hearing, here's what I'm into. And then you just, absolutely out of the ether pulled this game that is just extremely my shit.
Let me ask you, to tee this up a little bit, tell me what you asked me for when you said because I always ask my guests what do you want to play, what's the stories, the vibe, what were you looking for, and then I will explain how we came to discover this game.
Yeah, so the juice in RPGs for me, the thing that I play is to get the clash and conflict of very strong motivations where there isn't a clear right answer. I love faction politics and intrigue, the push and pull of making deals, and and yes, and these very strong motivations, both of which have good justifications. There's a good reason for you to sort of side with either one. And where do they find, who comes out on top, who wins, what must be sacrificed in order for them to both get what they want or one of them to get one over on the other.
And you asked me about this. You were I want a game with a really strong faction turn. I want a game with really strong faction politics. And so I turned to Tumblr and I just straight up asked this. And this is something that I'm always extremely passionate and excited about. I always say I encourage people to self-promo their games when I specifically ask for recommendations, with the caveat that if it fits. You always kind of get any recommendation call, you always kind of get a couple this is not quite, and then you look and it's just an entirely separate thing. But if I put out a call and I say I'm looking for games about X and you have a game about X, I want you to tell me about it. It's the thing that I'm most looking forward to. So I put this call on Tumblr, and the designer of the game that we are playing this week, Worlds Without Harmony, a game about ideological conflict and the factions that sort of define these really intense ideological schisms, described their game and talked about building out a conflict across a conspiracy board and fleshing out the factions that define that conflict. And I read that Tumblr post and just sent the description of the game to you almost verbatim to what they said. And I was just here it is. This is the game.
Yeah.
And so that is what we're playing this week.
Instantly.
And that's the game that we're playing this week. And it's pretty much exactly perfect. This is a game. Let me read the actual full-on description of the game. Worlds Without Harmony is a game about ideological conflicts, unanswerable questions, and the people caught between them. Some questions have no right answer. How can humans preserve the world without sacrificing progress? What is the proper way for a government to relate to its people? And how tough do things need to get before people prioritize themselves over others? No one answer satisfies everyone because the things that we want are sometimes mutually exclusive. Camps, factions, and parties organize around answers to these questions, but some people don't know where they fit in. Worlds Without Harmony is a game about those people exploring stances and factions in a conflict and changing and watching those factions as they come together and tear apart. In terms of what playing the game actually involves, it is about tying strings to cards and role-playing conflicts as liminal individuals exploring their own ideas and understandings of the world. Fuck yes. I feel like it could not be more perfect to what you were looking for, and this is why I will always say, please self-promo your games at me if I ask a thing and you have a game that fits the vibe, because I want this moment. You ready to play a game?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm like rubbing my hands together.
All right. So, we have built, and you can see, listener, there will be a link to like the final image with all of the string and index cards out of our Miro board attached to the episode, but we have a Miro board in front of us. We have two index cards on each side, on the left and right side of the board, with a large, thick string connecting them. We are going to, on each of these two index cards, write one word. Because each game of Worlds Without Harmony revolves around a tension, a specific irreconcilable ideological question. Pulling from the three in the book, we have natural and industrial, which raises the question of how can civilization ethically make use of the world while still looking out for itself? Liberty and order, how should a government relate to its citizens? And survival and decency, how much of our humanity can be compromised to live another day? Of those three options, is there a road that you want to go down?
I have to admit that I have been thinking a lot about survival and decency recently. So that I know there's a little bit of extra mechanical complexity with that one, but
that's fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. That was kind of the vibe I was going on. I think of the three options, it's the one that I'm like most narratively drawn towards. So I think that's the thread that I want to pull on. So we're gonna write down. We've written down survival on one side, decency on the other, and now we are going to find and present some icons. Icons are. We're each going to present two icons, and this is something, a picture, video, song, object, quote, something that inspires a way that you relate to one of the poles. Each tension has a different prompt for finding icons. For survival and decency, one icon should feature something transgressive or defiant, and the other should be something that people bond over. So, I'm thinking, movies, media, stories, quotes, vibes, something transgressive or defiant.
Well, I have my something people bond over.
Hit me.
Which is I live in Chicago, and if you've been paying attention to the news, as we're recording this right now, in Roscoe Village, there is a little hole in the sidewalk, probably made by a squirrel, but it has gone viral as the Chicago rat hole. And I have never seen a community come together to exult and gather around such a simple thing as a little hole in the pavement. I think the Chicago rat hole has truly brought people together.
You know what? I also have my something people bond over that is very similar. It is a similar kind of vibe, and I think this keys us into something that I think is interesting, that like because you saying that we can throw out more than two icons. I'm going to throw out two icons for because I've got two ideas that people bond over, both of which have been very much in my world lately. Lately being this year and then this time last year. Have you heard of the Philadelphia Chicken Man? The hero of the city of Philadelphia when we needed him most.
Oh my God! Well, I can't believe I haven't. I was raised in Pennsylvania, but I've never heard of this.
This was a 2022, early 2023 development. This was a moment that the city of Philadelphia needed a hero. In November of 2022, the Philadelphia Union and Philadelphia Phillies lost the World Series and World Soccer Championship at the same time. Like we lost we lost everything at the same. We lost them on the same day, which is a historic moment in sports. It's never happened before. And then 2 months later, the Eagles lost the Super Bowl. It was a dark moment. In the midst of this, a hero rose up, and a man declared that he was going to eat an entire rotisserie chicken every day for 40 days. And on that 40th day, which happened to be the day after the Phillies and Union lost, he gathered on the pier next to the Walmart on the river, and he ate his 40th rotisserie chicken, and people, they rallied.
Both in the telling of this and in the particulars, this actually, along with the Chicago rat hole, it feels really biblical. It feels really mythic. Like there's 40 days.
There's a folk hero energy that I think is very compelling here that I really like.
So that gives me that really pops into my head then for something transgressive as I watch the music video for Lil Nas X.
That feels really good. That feels like a really good one.
Oh, it was
Christo, if it's not mistaken.
J. Christ.
Thank you.
Yes. That feels transgressive and defiant. I have noticed that the religious right really doesn't know what to do with that. They're like, is he confused? Is this actually like a passion play? Is this, do we like this? Do we hate this? Do we need to pray for this man? And it also has that kind of it's got this religious iconography. It's got this kind of folk heroism, like a folk religion kind of thing going on, which I feel like is going to form the backbone of this, of this game at this point with these icons.
That feels really great. You know what my other icon is that I'm really leaning towards is, I'm going to say spoilers for a 9-year-old TV show. Okay. I think is unavoidable here, but my wife and I watched the first season of The Tick, the 2016 live action Amazon Prime version.
Oh hell yeah.
I held off on it for years because I am such a super fan of all things The Tick that I was worried that I was not going to live up to my expectations, and then it far exceeded my expectations. But we watched the first season, and there's a reveal in the final episode that also mirrors a very big plot point in My Beloved Venture Brothers. It's a plot point in a few different places, but the idea of the in Venture Brothers terms, the Guild of Calamitous Intent as a quote unquote villainous faction that is also at the same time a rebel resistance faction to an overwhelming surveillance state is very compelling to me. There is a moment in the season finale of The Tick where a villain reveals that's been their vibe the whole time. And I think that really has sat with me. That vibe of that Guild of Calamitous Intent vibe of we are evil because you have defined us as evil, and thus we want you to own the fact of what you have labeled as villainous. That is the energy, that Guild of Calamitous Intent energy is my second icon.
Oh, hell yeah. All right.
Brotherhood of Evil Mutants Magneto is another very good example that I think is probably more relevant to people than my fucking nerd ass TV shows.
If you need a touchstone that isn't the 2016 live action The Tick,
or the Adult Swim animated series The Venture Brothers.
I feel like Venture Brothers that's a cult classic.
It's got its fans.
A cult classic.
All right. So we fleshed out our icons. I think I've got a pitch for like the general vibe of our story, but we're going to kind of like lay that out a little bit as we go.
All right.
I'm hearing the icons that we've got on the table, right? These sorts of, like you said, biblical kind of folk hero elements, these sort of strange,
whimsical, I feel.
Yeah, whimsical. I being Jeff and like very literally some of the things that like we put on the table, this sort of biblical miracle sense mixed with a superhero energy. I've got an idea for a vibe. I want to throw this at you.
All right.
I'm thinking like I don't want to go straight superhero because I think that's too easy.
I respect that.
I have to stop myself from going too hard on my bullshit sometimes. How do you feel about something in the neighborhood of the iconic voice of a generation, universally beloved NBC primetime television series Heroes?
It's funny. I've been watching 30 Rock for the first time, and that show came out around like 2006, 2007, I think. And so they're making Heroes jokes all the time. And
we had Heroes watch parties in college.
Yeah,
we would
these jokes are for me and me only, who watched Heroes religiously when it was coming out.
I think the vibe I want to throw to you is that sense of like the thing that Heroes did well, that I liked, and they leaned heavily on this in the first season, and then everything fucking fell apart in seasons 2 onward. Like the thing that they did well was they presented the idea of like they captured a kind of majesty, a kind of magic of these superpowers. They really captured the sort of like larger than life sense of like someone has done something utterly impossible in this moment and just let that moment linger. That is maybe the vibe I want to throw to you.
40 rotisserie chickens.
40 rotisserie chickens. Like this sense that like a thing has that these larger than life moments that people are achieving, there is a magic to them and there is something inexplicable to them, and it is causing like it's a little bit X-Men, but maybe not as explicable as X-Men.
Sure. Yeah, it's like these. Well, I think that dovetails nicely with the sort of moments system in Worlds Without Harmony here. These like the moments are all these places that like they feel like they echo, right?
Yeah.
In time, they connect to one another, and they like and they're also the timer for the game. And it tells when the game is over.
Okay, this feels good. I feel like we're coming together. We've got an idea. So now let's go through the legend. This is where we set up our factions. The legend is the setup phase of the game. We've shared our icons. Now we are going to build. Each of us is going to build 2 factions. Each one exemplifying one of our poles. Factions are made up of 4 parts, which we'll write down. We'll write down a name. We don't necessarily need to write down all 4 because we have our own record of what they represent in terms of this podcast.
Yeah.
We'll note who are they, their general concept, a detail that visually identifies the group, a detail about their culture, and where they belong on the card, whether they represent something closer to survival or closer to decency. And we will, these first 2 factions will go to the far ends of the cord, finding the most polarized beliefs of the game. All later factions will explore the middle ground between these 2 factions. So we are going to make up what the furthest faction that ties into each of these big ideas, what the faction that represents that idea looks like. Is there one side of this string that you have an idea for a faction in this sort of big, weird, pseudo-mythic things are occurring vibe world that we're starting to flesh out?
Not yet. I'm
Okay.
like I think I have the idea for survival, but not yet for decency yet. So I feel like I'm still a little. I guess as we generate the factions, we'll get the feeling for what the sort of actual nitty-gritty nature of the conflict is.
I am going to, I know I said earlier I need to check myself from going too far in my bullshit. I'm going to lean a little bit far in my bullshit, bring in a little bit of an icon, and also I think start to define a faction.
All right, let's do it.
I think I'm going to define the decency faction a little bit. In that, like, I want to lean in on the idea that, like, the things that we called out, the things that bring people together, the things that are transgressive, they are informal. They are spontaneous. They are grassroots. They are people spontaneously coming together and working together to do something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if it is just admiring a hole that looks kind of like a rat. There's a sense of like, we are just two people looking at a rat hole.
Yeah.
What I kind of want to then if I'm thinking about that energy, then the opposite of that is organized, it is structural, it is hierarchical. And if we're kind of envisioning this sort of strange, pseudo-mythical, pseudo-magical kind of modern energy, if I pull on that superhero thread just a little bit, I'm gonna get to do my favorite thing in the world, which is talk shit about my number one It's On Site motherfucker, which is a man named Reed Richards.
Get that guy out of here.
Get his ass out of here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a faction on the board. I'm going to grab a sticky note. We'll make our factions light green. Here we go, right here. Make that a little bit smaller. And this is... I'm writing down Incredible Industries. Incredible Industries is, I think, in this world where these sorts of vaguely defined superpowers are starting to manifest, I want to represent like a group that has hierarchicalized or has introduced a hierarchy and introduced corporatization into that. And it allows me to say fuck off to the fan, to fuck off to Reed Richards and pull in a little bit of a comic book that I love that is written by an actual human monster that is planetary. Fuck off, Warren Ellis. Is there the villain of that book is also a Fantastic Four that has kind of monopolized the space and corrupted a lot of things by way of stagnating the sort of majesty of the world in their image. That's kind of my energy. How does that feel?
That feels good. It also helps me shape a sort of decency flavored or a survival flavored faction as well, which I feel like these mythic abilities, these moments, they don't discriminate. Like they don't care if you're like rich or poor or privileged or not, which means that there is definitely a subset of these kind of folk heroes who have no systemic power, but they do have this kind of mythic power. And I feel like on the survival end, these are the people who have who do not have sort of the ability. They don't have the luxury of being decent. They are using their powers. They are using these abilities. They are using this magnetism to survive. They're using it to get their basic needs, like the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, like food, shelter, water, and life. Here,
that feels good. That feels really good. That feels good. We've got some questions to flesh out these factions a little bit. We'll get to what resource they have in a moment, but let me kind of run us through the questions. And if you have answers to any of these questions for either of our factions, we can go through them. But we've talked about Incredible Industries, their general concept, a detail that visually identifies the group. This is the first group This is the first group. They don't have necessarily superhero costumes, but I'm envisioning a level of like uniform.
Yes.
Almost flight suit is the vibe.
Sure.
Like almost a little bit of a Star Trek uniform to their outfit.
Oh, they got pips on the collars and everything.
they've got the power suits, they've got the color coding, they've got the pips. That's the visual detail. The detail about their culture is they are very Incredible Industries is privatized philanthropy.
Sure.
It is, they are or not philanthropy necessarily, but privatized infrastructure, I guess is the word I would use. Like they are the presence of making public works private is the detail about is what Incredible Industries represents. They represent making public goods private, and the part of the way they do that is that they've zeroed in on these kinds of like superpowered moments, and they have coordinated into using them in ways that appear super heroic but are replacing like bridge repair and other necessary things, and being like, well, we'll just have someone like lift up the bridge if it starts to collapse. And it's like, well, no, we need people to repair the bridge. That's my vibe.
Yeah, still helpful, but
yeah.
And then, so wait, the questions are, it's a physical identifier, a cultural thing.
A detail about their culture, and then where they belong on the cord, which we connect with green string.
Yeah, and then there's a special rule for
yes. They also have a resource, which is a thing that that will move around during play, and I think the resource here is money. I think that feels good. Or is it power? What do you think the resource is? What's exciting to you for this resource to represent that is going to be something that like its scarcity defines portions of play?
Well, I think let's see. I think at least in the game, according to my reading, I think the resource is the same for every faction, and it's like, do you have it or not? Because I think
you're absolutely right.
Central
you are
tension
so correct.
It's a struggle around a resource.
So what do we think that resource is?
The whole point is like, in this world, there's something that's scarce. I think every faction starts with the resource, but it'll lose it.
Yeah. So maybe it's if we're tying into this idea, maybe it's, I'm going to call it magic, but I don't think it's necessarily like, I don't think that's, it's not magic in a very like pop culture wizardy way. It's in sort of a like miraculous, inexplainable thing has occurred kind of way. Does that make sense? How does that feel?
Yeah. Like a metaphysical power kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm good with that.
Cool. Let's go with that. And then we begin with everyone having a token that represents this. So I will just put a little circle here.
And then I think the survival decency also has factions have taboos.
Yes. So a taboo for Incredible Industry.
Yeah. What action does the faction forbid for the good of all? Taboo is some line that mustn't be crossed.
The faction forbids for the good of all. I'm gonna say individual action.
Sure. Everything has to be approved.
And let's lean into the Fantastic Four visual a little bit. It's got to be in a group. Like there is no lone hero going out and doing things. There is no lone individual going out and doing things. You know, if you want to use this metaphysical power, if you think that there's an opportunity to help people to do something, you have to get it approved. You have to organize a team, a task force, and then go and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, like always a squad, and always the right squad, because I like the idea that this metaphysical power is maybe it's volatile, like and using it alone, like if you're not on the buddy system, there's a chance that like, you know, you'll overdo it or you'll cause more collateral damage, and there needs to be someone there to stop you if necessary.
That feels good. That feels really good. That feels good. So talk to me about this other faction.
That just me saying that, I'm like, okay, great. I've been trying to think of their name. I'm going to call them the Unstoppable.
The Unstoppable is very good. Fuck.
They are the sort of loosely confederated. They're like a kind of a grassroots like organization of, these are the people who got these powers but didn't have the like structural or systemic privilege to actually use it. Or to use it without like without the system like cracking down on them, and so they use it in like subtler ways when they can, although not all of them are subtle. Let me see, a physical feature. I know there's like there is a table. I love rolling on tables, so I'm going to go ahead and roll the physical traits table.
Oh, I also love rolling on tables.
I've got a color. Okay, cool. They have a color. And it's yellow. All right. So I'm thinking, yes, then they have this. Could be scarves or. It's probably like I think it's like yellow gloves.
Yellow gloves is good.
Yellow work gloves. And
that feels great.
Like carrying like a pair of like yellow gloves in like the back pocket of your jeans. Like that's like a sort of statement of allegiance almost.
That feels cool.
And then I keep forgetting, what's the next thing?
What is the next thing? What is a detail of their culture?
Yes.
Oh, I think we talked about this a little bit in terms of like it's kind of like individuals using, it's like individual grassroots connections. It's very slapdash. It's very.
I actually just rolled the value individuality, so yes, I think it has to do a lot with like the uniqueness of maybe your metaphysical power, or like what can you do, what can you offer, and there is like a sort of a folk hero aspect to a lot of these people, and for some of them it is about like I mean, I think first and foremost it's about survival, because I think that's where they lie, but a sort of myth has evolved around some of the members of the Unstoppable.
Sure. That feels great. I love that.
And building your myth, I think, is seen as a potential like a way to ensure your survival.
Sure. So what is their taboo?
Ah, yes. And what must they never do? I feel like it has to do with like working with the establishment, like working with the organization, like never cooperate.
That feels cool. I like that. That's a good energy.
Like even if it would be to like the mutual benefit, it's just a base like kind of ground rule. Don't cooperate. It always ends up bad for us in the end. Like
I love
they're
that.
going to try to recruit you. They're going to try to turn you.
I love that. That's so good. Okay, now we are going to make up 2 more factions in the middle, just sort of in the middle space of our I want. I'm trying to decide, and this is a faction that has a connection to this sort of metaphysical power. I'm gonna make a Superman. I'm just trying to decide what angle to the Superman I'm gonna make, and I think what it is. Okay, I think what I'm leaning towards. I've let the idea cook a little bit. I've let it marinate, and I'm leaning towards thinking about the unstoppable. There's this very big punk rock kind of energy. And I kind of want to throw in a group. I'm going I keep describing things as icons whenever I just am here's a fun pop culture reference point but I think that's the vibe.
That's what an icon is.
The two things I'm going to throw out are the Bat Family and the Ramones. That's the energy.
Okay, and we're mixing those.
Yeah, it's the halfway point between the Bat Family and the Ramones. In that everybody in that the Ramones, a bunch of people they all take the name of the Ramones even if they are not explicitly a family.
Yeah.
And the idea that this is a subset of people who collectively, maybe it is in the Batman analogy, one person has accessed these powers. We'll figure we can leave power stuff vague, or we can get into it as we go. But it's this sense of everybody. It's a little bit of an I am Spartacus, right? It's a little bit of a I am the person that does this. This is the Hard Hat family.
Oh.
I'm going to put the Hard Hat family closer to survival, a little bit towards the center, closer to the survival. And their thing is, they all claim that they all claim the last name Hard Hat. They have a matching uniform that is a hard hat and goggles. They look a little bit like the soldier from Team Fortress 2.
Okay.
And they
soldier, engineer, or both.
Engineer's the one I wanted. They look a little bit like the engineer from Team Fortress 2. And there is some kind of power that they tap into, but they tap into it as a collective in the city. And the taboo here is, secrets stay in the family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We look out for each other. We keep our business inside the family. Hard hats help out hard hats. There is a level of, which I'm actually hearing myself say that I'm going to move them a little bit more towards decency, just a little bit. But hard hats help out hard hats. They are in this together. It is us against the world.
Great. I have an idea for decency. And I want to introduce the idea that this power can be taken away, especially because these resources are going to be moving.
Yeah, they're going to come and go.
Yeah, that this power can be taken away, and potentially that it can be given.
Sure.
Because I want to add a faction that is dedicated to taking away and giving this power. That is taking it away from those who misuse it and giving it to those that they deem deserving.
Sure. I love that. That's great.
I also see I see these as closer to decency, certainly, than survival. Some of the tones I'm seeing for some of the tones on decency are apologetic and guilty. And yeah, I think these are the kind of the ones who see this power as potentially destructive, in the wrong hands. But of course, anyone who self-applies themselves as the arbiters of who gets power, there's a lot of muck and mire there.
Sure.
What should we call them? don't want to call them the arbiters. That's too on the nose.
I was thinking the power brokers.
Yes, the brokers.
Or the brokerage.
Oh, the brokerage. That's good. Okay, so we'll go with the brokerage. And ooh, there we go. We'll move them a little more towards decency. Let's all be responsible with our powers here. Connect there. And let's see, their physical detail, I think they I think they're kind of like the ones who are very kind of safety oriented. Mm-hmm. So I think they're the ones who are like, if someone has one of these powers, they're the ones who are like very clearly marking it.
Sure.
With some kind of like belling the cat kind of thing. I'm trying to think of like something like high vis, maybe like,
maybe it's, I'm just going to throw out the first the high vis option that popped immediately into my head. What if it's either safety vests or reflector strips?
Yeah, I think it is something like that. I feel like, because like the brokerage, I immediately think of everybody like wearing like suits and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I like the idea that like they have like high vis or like reflective like ties or scarves or something. Yeah, so that like you always see them coming.
I like that.
And culturally, let's roll the dice here. Ritual times, okay, which is eating. Okay, so I feel like the brokerage, then they have like, I want to connect eating to like to these. Maybe they have like these very important like dinners.
I was gonna say, like a lunch, like this feels like big lunch meeting energy.
Yeah, and like they have these. It's always around a meal when they like when they elevate someone or give them this this power, which they have like, I feel like they have like a stockpile of it from what they've like taken away. And of course their taboo is never take from the stockpile. We we only give that away.
Sure.
You may not take power from the stockpile.
Yeah. Love that. Okay. And I think the final thing that we do, let me go back and confirm this. I believe the final thing that we do is now we are going to make some liminals. Well, we've set up our chord, we've set up our Oh, no, wait. We have to set up conflicts between our factions.
Ah, yes.
All right. Once all the factions are created...
Break out the red string.
Yes. We've created our factions. We don't necessarily have control over these factions, but we created them. Now we are going to, each of us is going to choose two factions and come up with a reason why they are in conflict and tie those cards together with red string. And then I take a moment to describe the conflict. I am going to mark with a red string the brokerage and the unstoppable.
I was going to do the same thing if you didn't.
It feels right. I'm glad we're on the same page. These two, cause like the unstoppable is very keyed to like, it is an individual person doing something for their community. The brokerage is very keyed on like, this is like, you do not decide that for yourself. And so there is a natural animosity there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I feel like as the Unstoppable would especially hate that the brokerage has all this unused power that they're not giving away to the deserving, of which the Unstoppable feels is like, that's us. And then I do one too, yeah?
Yes.
I think I want to do between the brokerage and Incredible Industries.
Oh, that's interesting.
In that, I think Incredible Industries is like, I think doesn't really understand why the brokerage isn't like working for them. Here,
Yeah.
hang on. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that feels great.
And the brokerage is like, oh, we'd consider it, but you'd have to give us oversight over your operations because we don't know if there are people who are abusing their power in your organization.
This feels good. This feels good. All right. So we've tied our things together with a cord. Now we are going to create some liminals. Liminals are the protagonists of the game. These are our two characters that will move around the court, exploring the factions and their conflicts. We choose the faction that they originate from. It doesn't need to be a faction that we created. Multiple liminals can come from the same faction. We decide what is significant about them. And then we choose two details, one connected to their appearance and one to their personality. And each detail should be tied to one of our two poles, either a survival or a decency.
Here's my question for you. Are you planning to play a liminal from the Hard Hat family?
I was looking at the Hard Hat family, but if you've got
as long as one of us is doing it.
I've got a pitch for a Hard Hat.
Okay.
I'm making Hard Hat Harry. Hard Hat Harry is a member of the Hard Hat family who is like out and about in this large metropolitan city that we're envisioning. Details about Hard Hat Harry that relate to one of which relates to survival and one of which relates to decency. Hard Hat Harry is the appointed union mediator for the Hard Hat family. I think with the idea that they have a mediator, very funny to me. But like good, strong organizational management. They have a mediator. They have somebody whose job it is to sit down and like weigh in on inter-family issues. Hard Hat Harry, personality is that Hard Hat Harry is like a naturally drawn mediator. He is his pronouns. He is drawn to settling dispute. He is also, he can punch through, like his fists are bandaged and he can punch through steel.
Hell yeah. Okay. Then let's do, I actually want to do someone who has no powers of her own.
Okay, sure.
The name that is coming to me is Elizabeth Berry. And she is with the brokerage, I think. I imagine her actually as like someone that the brokerage trusts with the stockpile. Because she would never violate the she would never use the stock. She would never give herself the power of the stockpile. So she's kind of like, she's a little bit of like the arbiter. She's like on the board of people who is like looking for the deserving. I think there's a separate board that looks for the undeserving, which the brokerage sometimes like hunts down and takes their powers away. But specifically, like, she is tasked with finding people who she thinks could put these powers to good use and basically dispersing this metaphysical power from the stockpile. I think, like... so she has, like, a family in the city. Her parents and her like brothers and sisters, and I think like her personality I think is going to be from survival. I think she like grew up poor and like through like scholarships and like high achievement has been able to like make her way to this kind of prominent position in the brokerage. And as for then I think her appearance, it's all about decency. She's always like friendly, warm, trustworthy smile, like presenting herself like very kind professional, down to earth. A sort of kind of in some ways a costume that she puts on.
Yeah, that feels great. That feels great.
I just realized Elizabeth Barry and Hard Hat Harry rhyme. I don't know if that's very that's very Four color.
That feels good. That feels good. I like this. I like this. All right, we've created our liminals, we've created our world, we've created our faction, and now what we're going to do is we are going to play out some scenes. And as we do, we're going to identify moments that are significant, and we are going to mark them on our on our board, use and build out our triptych, our collection of moments that echo and sort of represent the conflict in motion. Would you like to set the first scene, or should I?
I would love it if you set the first scene, actually.
Let's go through what the kinds of scenes are. We can do fraying scenes, playing out the conflict between factions, breaking into open opposition. We can play out a new contact between disconnected factions in a knotting scene. Tensing scenes bring a faction into the mix, introducing a new perspective on the chord. Relenting scenes, you work together with another liminal to solve a problem between factions. Or discovering scenes in which you work together with a liminal on the same faction to delve into a faction's mysteries and deeper nature.
And we also have crossing scenes from...
Yes, talk to me about a crossing scene.
Yeah, so we have the crossing scenes, which replace fraying scenes in survival versus decency. Play a crossing scene to watch a faction violate another faction's taboo to save itself. The liminal calls for this scene chooses one player to play the faction they are on, called the aggressor, and another player to faction on the other end of a red thread, called the victim. And the aggressor gets the opportunity to violate the victim's taboo. Okay. Doesn't need to be an action against the victim, just something they would find unforgivable.
I like this. I like this. I like this. I like this a lot. Let me look at my scene choices again and see which one immediately flies out to me. Because I don't think I'm quite at crossing scene just yet. I don't think that feels right. I think we're going to have a discovering scene. I think a discovering scene feels like a good first moment.
Oh, great.
And how this is going to work is, I believe that means that on my, let me confirm, let me remind myself on what the flow, when you move one of your liminals, or when you can move a liminal.
I don't want to rules layer this, especially because there's literally only two of us. According to the rules, the scene requires two liminals on the same faction, so we'd have to be together to do discover scene. But seeing as we're adapting this for two players, I could definitely see like one of us, like if you wanted to do Hard Hat Family, one of us taking on another member of the Hard Hats.
Would you like to do Hard Hat Family or the Brokerage? Like, which of the two factions that we've got on the table are you more interested in discovering something about?
It's tough. I mean, I put myself on the Brokerage because I love the fucking wheeling and dealing, but the Hard Hats, like, it's your scene.
I think we're going to do a discovery scene on the Brokerage, and I think I'm just going to drop an index card right here. I'm making a character on the fly. I am making a liminal on the fly just to add to the mix.
Riptide Taylor.
Roxy Riptide Taylor, she is entrusted by the Brokerage to take people's powers away. Roxy is a weapon of the Brokerage. Roxy is if part of their organization is deeming that people have to have their abilities, their gifts taken away, Roxy is one of the people that they count on to do that. She is the Brokerage's go-to mercenary of choice.
That sounds great. That rules.
All right. Let's see. Where's my note on discovery scene? We've got two liminals together. At the start of a scene, when we play a scene with a liminal, I'm going to take this token away from the Brokerage.
Yes. Which
means the Brokerage has currently no gifts, no metaphysical powers. Gifts I keep coming back to that word, and that's the word that I am going to use because it feels good. It feels sick. We have no gifts. The brokerage is giftless. Perhaps what that tells me is that like either they have given away all that they have collected, or they have had something stolen from them.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find out which it is. We have this moment between Roxy and Elizabeth.
Yes.
Where are we? I think let me ask you this. What's the meal that we are having together? Because eating is significant to the brokerage.
I feel like this is is this a before or an after action thing? Because I feel like it's a breakfast is a before action and a dinner is an after action.
I think it's just dinner. I think this is after an action.
This is an after action. All right.
Okay, then I'm going to set the scene here. I've got the scene here. So we are going to, I call the scene. I'm going to hand you the dice. When you receive the dice, you answer the, okay, here's how the scene works.
Yes.
I have 2 dice in my hand. They are 2 dice of different color. One dice represents survival, the other decency. I am going to ask you a question. You then receive these dice. You roll the dice and answer in the dominant tone, and then return the dice asking a question in return. Yes. We continue as long as we desire. When either is satisfied, we pass the dice to, then traditionally we would pass the dice to the faction player, at which point we just say, all right, I think we are done. Mm-hmm. We then roll. We then can ask one overarching question of the scene to answer with the dice in a liminal tone, or in the predominant tone.
Yes.
Okay. Roxy is returning from a mission. Roxy is bringing a gift with her. She has retrieved something. She doesn't like to describe how she got it. She says, better you don't know. She comes back to a crisis situation. The gifts are gone. The powers are gone. Everything, there was a hit. Something was struck. There was a smash and grab.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to hand this to you and ask the question, what the hell happened?
All right, I'm going to roll the dice. One of them represents survival, and one of them represents decency. That is survival.
And what are the die results?
I've got a 5 on survival and a 3 from decency, which means the dominant tone is survival here.
And there are specific things that happen if you don't roll higher than a 3, if you roll a tie, or if you roll a tie that is under 3.
Yes.
So this is just survival.
This is a straight up, the answer is survival, which tells me Elizabeth Berry is like shaking her head, puts her head in her hands, and says, the Unstoppable, they really lived up to their name. It was just one of them. And it felt like there was nothing we could do. It happened so fast. The vault is destroyed and everything's gone. Except for what you've brought. Say, looking to what Roxy's got. I wonder, is this like how is it transported? Is it a briefcase?
I was thinking about this. I've got this idea. I want to say, like, I'm feeling imbued objects.
Great.
Is a good energy. Like, we're talking about like mythical actions, right? We're talking about like eating 40 chickens. You do something with such heart and spirit that like whatever, like an object is tied with a gift, and that gift and that object imbues a kind of superpower.
Totally.
Because that also gives something that can be stolen and taken and distributed.
Absolutely. It's like in SpongeBob. The power's all in the suit.
It's all in the suit. This feels good. This is good.
And then I ask a question of my own, which is, I would say this might not be the wording that Elizabeth uses, but the question is, are you going to hand that over?
That's a good question. That is a 5 for survival, 3 for decency. So that is veering towards... It's wild. So that is also veering towards survival. I think that she second guesses. Mm-hmm. And I think she says, I mean, I was going to, but like, I might need the, you know, I think she rears back. Like the instinct is there to like hand this over and to follow protocol. But she's like, look, if we are stealing back our supplies, like I need, like, we can't just hand this over. We need to go out and get the rest of our shit. We need to go around and get the rest of our stuff.
I can't authorize just taking from the supply, certainly.
My question to you is are you prepared to stop me?
Oh boy. Let's roll. So that is a 6 on decency and a 3 on survival. Oh. Which is, I think, for Elizabeth, that's like I can't let you take that. You got it, but it's not part of the reward. It's not part of the job. That doesn't belong to you. That's not yours. I wonder. I don't think I have, because I have a low roll in survival. This is all decency. I'm appealing to decency here. Like I can't stop you by force. But listen, this is what the brokerage stands for. Like, it's about doing what's right. Even though I can't force you to do what I want you to do. I'm asking you, we need what you have in order to reclaim what the brokerage has or had. So I guess my question to you is, what are you going to do with that gift?
Let's find out what happens on a tie.
Can't.
Rolling player answers, the faction player takes the dice. That is going to end the scene.
Yes.
It is tied on a 5, so it is not a hitch. But it... I'm actually going to move Roxy.
Yeah.
Over to the Unstoppable. Which means I place a token on the Unstoppable. Which also means that there is no power token on the brokerage, at least at this moment. Faction player's holding the dice. Faction player asks each liminal a leading question of their own. So this is not a character question. This is the universe question.
Yes.
So each of us will roll the dice and answer in the dominant tone, ignoring snaps and choosing in the case of ties and hitches. My question for you: is Elizabeth willing to mark Roxy as a threat to the organization, as an enemy to the organization, to be dealt with by the brokerage?
I feel like we kind of had a professional friendship going on.
There was like a friendship here, yeah.
But the dominant tone here is survival, with a 6 on survival and a 5 on decency. And it's like she wasn't, when the chips were down, she didn't have my back. Mm-hmm. And now she has 2 gifts, which, if the brokerage could get back, would be a good start. So I feel like Roxy Riptide Taylor is no longer has sort of crossed. She's like, yes, she is marked as an enemy of the brokerage.
I am putting a moment on the board immediately.
Yes, I think so.
That feels great. This is connected with blue string. Moments are the time token of the game. We're not going to get through all 3 moments in a triptych in this episode, but I'm putting this on the board. I am putting down a moment, and I'm tying this to the cord, also with blue string. This is moment 1. I'm writing down power theft. This is Roxy leaving the brokerage with power to go dispense justice, or her vision of justice, is a moment. That is a that is a moment. That is a significant beat that I want on the table.
Yeah, and then I guess then the faction also asks Roxy, what injustice, what perceived injustice are you going to correct?
I'm going to find. Let me hold on. No, hold on. I was about to just answer it, but I got to roll. That's a 5 and a 6. The decency answer would have been, I am going to take back those gifts. I'm going to take those back and ensure that they are not distributed. The survival answer is, I'm going to find the person that smashed up that attacked, that like went after my friends, and I'm going to dispense justice onto them.
Oh.
I think Roxy is going vigilante after the people in the Unstoppable that have declared that they like decided they were going to radically distribute those gifts.
And Elizabeth doesn't even know. She thinks that she's been betrayed. And maybe she has. We'll see.
And also, crucially, at the end of this scene, there are no tokens on the brokerage.
Yeah.
So the brokerage's cord has been cut, meaning that they are now powerless and they are scrambling to recover.
Yes. Can they, I forget, can they be saved? Or, because I know the faction is destroyed, eventually.
I think what I'm going to say, especially in the interest of we are our own game designers and that we are playing in this moment, it is our play and that matters. I would assume that like if by the end of your scene someone does not place a token onto
it's a faction with no resources and no red conflict threads.
No red conflict threads. Okay, so they
get
remain
a
in
resource,
place.
Tie them back onto the cord in an appropriate place with a new piece of green thread. Okay,
so they remain on the board as long as they have beef with the Unstoppable and Incredible Industries.
Yes, they are still relevant even if they don't have the resource.
All right. So what scene do you want to play?
Oh, well, I am part of there's the part of the faction where, is it nodding? Where like, if I'm going to go to Incredible Industries for help.
I think that's nodding. I think that is nodding. Let me confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that's what that is.
It's not my favorite word because of the other connotations.
We're dropping a lot of the word nodding in this episode. Big shout out to people that like that word for any number of reasons. That's not for me to wonder.
Just some nodding role play with my good friend Jeff.
Great. Let's keep going. Yes, that is that is going to be a nodding scene. An uneasy balance is struck between previously disconnected factions.
Oh, I think it's a relenting scene.
Where characters on connected factions try to work out a solution to their troubles.
Yeah. I think so. Yes, I think we got to go to Incredible Industries. Elizabeth Berry's got to go to Incredible Industries, and she's got to see whether she can get their help. She's lost it all.
Let's talk through what a relenting scene looks like.
Play a relenting scene if you want to work together with another liminal to solve a problem between factions in a lasting way. So a scene requires a liminal on both ends of a single red thread. So I guess technically that's another one.
Make it. You know, like I love. Like here's the thing. I don't know if this is how. Like this game is traditionally meant to be played with a larger group than two, and so we're kind of like winging it. But I also love just making up all of the little faces that. Yeah,
let's get our Reed Richards XP up here.
I think I'm actually going to go even bigger here. If I can get this to write on this particular. Oh, it's because I'm having tech. It's because I have to reconnect to the board. It's because
same deal. Yes, let me refresh.
I was like, that's why. It's because it's because I got to refresh the page. And/or Miro might have gone down, which is exciting.
Oh no, yeah, I'm having the same issue.
All right, well, I'm just going to create the character because this is probably the last scene that we're going to play on this episode. Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah.
All right, I'm back. Great. Let's make a character. This is probably the last scene that we'll play on the episode proper, but I do desperately want to get another one of these recordings on the calendar at some point. We'll talk afterwards.
Hell yeah.
I'm writing down I'm adding a detail as well, a cultural detail. I'm writing down Rads. Rads is a representative from Incredible Industries, and Rads is a radiology technician. Rads is is a department head in charge of radiation management.
Great.
In small part because Rads was brought into Incredible Industries, was recruited because they are in possession of an object that gives them radiation control powers. They leveraged to pull radiation out of like a leaking reactor and maybe have other kinds of fucked up radiation things. I don't know. I'm just riffing.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And this is someone that I think Beth Berry definitely believes deserves their power. As far as she knows, they use their power for good.
That feels great. Okay. So, the liminal who called the scene, that is you. You're going to frame the scene with us meeting somewhere, defending the factions we're currently on. Discuss the merits and desires of the faction, and try to solve our difficulties with one another.
Great.
When we decide on a solution, we will both roll and narrate how the faction they were on reacts favorably to the situation.
All right. Then great. This is a lunch meeting, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
While the brokerage does not have power, we still have enough money to take Rads out to a nice lunch.
This is an added thing. If we're thinking about objects, we get to define what some of these objects are.
Yeah.
Rads is a little like breathalyzer like it's one of those like strapped gas masks.
Totally. Yeah.
So like they like, I think they are drinking a smoothie and they have slid the straw underneath the bottom of the gas mask and are slurping it and then removing it.
Great. Then yes, so we're meeting for lunch in the city, and Elizabeth wants to basically defend the existence of the brokerage, saying, Rads, I feel like you and we understand one another, that when these gifts are given, they need to be used responsibly. They need to be used for the betterment of humankind. I know the Unstoppable. Many of them have good intentions, but they can't be trusted with that amount of power. I don't know what they're going to do with it. They have no oversight. Much like Incredible Industries, I'm thinking the brokerage still has something to offer you.
We wish that you would just join us on our side. What you're doing is not so dramatically different than what we are doing that I think, the fact that you insist on being an independent agency is unnecessary. We could give you resources that would be far better suited to your particular things that the unfortunate circumstances that befell your storage facility wouldn't happen if you'd stored them in one of our top unbreachable vaults. We're working on the same cause. We wish you would recognize that you're better suited as a part of our organization.
I understand that, but that carries the risk of corruption. If we're all part of the same of the same organization, then there's no independent oversight. Eventually, it might lead to clannishness or some kind of in-group. We've seen it go bad before, after all.
Right, but if you are simply a rogue agency with no authority handing out and collecting power, how are you different than the Unstoppable?
Listen, I understand we don't have a lot of leverage in this particular negotiation. I'm willing to compromise on this, but when the gifts are recovered, they need to be placed in the brokerage, though I'm certainly willing to look at to take Incredible Industries' input on where the gift should be distributed.
I feel perhaps I could sell an advisory role. I can float that up the chain. I understand what you're saying. I look. Do I want my bosses to have final say over everything? No, I don't. But I think we're doing good work. But I can sell an advisory role. I can sell us being a voice in the process. It doesn't need to be the only voice, but I can sell us being a voice in the process. If you would allow me to try and sell that, I can try and sell that.
Let's try it. And
All right.
She reaches her hand across the table.
Let's roll some dice.
I'm gonna.
Oh no.
Let's see. I've got a 4 on survival, a 3 on decency, so it's not a snap tire hitch. What do you have?
Hit. That's a snap. That's a snap towards. That is a snap towards survival. Well, the caller moves into playing a fraying scene or a destructive scene, and the other liminal moves back to the faction that they were on. Oh no.
So this is a fray then.
Yes.
And so I think fraying is replaced by
destroying,
a crossing.
Which means that Rads ends their scene on Incredible Industries, which means Incredible Industries collects a resource token. And I think I know what that looks like. Or no. Rads is not the active person on the scene, so there's no second. So that does not happen. Only where Beth ends up is going to be where a token ends up.
So she gets bumped back to the brokerage.
So the brokerage gets a token. Or rather, no, I guess we have to find out where the crossing scene ends first.
No, yeah, because I don't think they get a token.
All right, crossing scene. So who? Let's see. You choose one player to play the faction that they are on, and another player to play the faction on the other end of a red thread called the victim. Would you like to play the aggressor or the victim here?
I think I'm gonna play the aggressor here.
Okay, are you the aggressor?
Yeah, let's see, the aggressor and the victim. Actually, I want to play. Yes, I want to play the aggressor. Which I have to figure out which taboo I want to violate, because Incredible Industries is never work alone.
Yep.
And the brokerage is never take power from the stockpile.
Yep.
I kind of want to violate both of those. I want to because
I wanted to. Here's what. Then maybe we're both aggressors and both victims, because I am putting Dr. Incredible PhD on the field. Dr. Incredible, quick visual reference. Tattered lab coat that is like increasingly decorated with military style seals and badges. Dr. Incredible's culture, or the values that ties into survival, tying into decency, is immaculately tailored suit underneath the tattered lab coat. And personality-wise is every CEO you've ever heard speak on TikTok.
Totally.
That is my decency note. My survival note is a lab coat. My decency note is insufferable personality.
Okay. So, because the action doesn't need to be against the victim, I'm thinking this is Elizabeth Berry, taking matters into her own hands.
Okay.
And she's going to go confront Roxy herself. With I think a kind of assurance in her back pocket. She's taken a gift, maybe because because the brokerage is all out. Maybe she's taken a gift from Incredible Industries.
Then what I'm going to say is I'm going to say forget Dr. Incredible for now. We'll come back later. I think that puts us here, and that puts Roxy as the victim.
I think so, yeah.
That feels good. That feels great. That feels great. So that moves then you move your clip here between factions. Roxy is on the Unstoppable. Liminal frames the scene. You've described violating the taboo. It needn't be an actual action. We play until you are ready to break that taboo.
Yeah.
So until you are ready to use that gift, maybe we find Roxy in you. Where do you want to confront Roxy?
Yeah, I feel like this is like. See, it's tough to nail down one of the unstoppable because they're so like they're so distributed. So I feel like this is a personal like maybe it's like I have Roxy's address or something. Like
Roxy is in a weekly roller derby game, and you're confronting her back like in the locker room.
Yeah, I know her, so I can like find her in like a personal place.
She's like unlacing her. It's after the game. She's unlacing her roller skate. She just looks up. Beth, you know you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff neither of us are supposed to do, Roxy.
I thought we ended this discussion the other day.
I don't think it ended very satisfactorily, if I'm being honest. You know, I counted you among my friends. I really thought that I could count on you when the chips were down, but...
We can still call each other friends. There's nothing changing that.
I just don't know if I can do that honestly while you're sitting on... while you're palling around with people who are sitting on more gifts, enough gifts to destroy this city if they wanted to.
And yet you don't feel that way about your friends in Incredible Industries.
For better or worse, I don't think they're my friends either. They just want to absorb us. I'm just asking you to get us back to equilibrium. Help us get back on the board.
What do you think I'm trying to do?
And she kind of like shakes her head and says, "What are you talking about?"
I'm chasing down the people that stole our shit. I'm knocking heads until I find somebody responsible, and then I'm going to dangle them over a building until they feel bad. This is the life that you weren't supposed to see. You know that, right? You know that this was never what you were supposed to see. This is why you suit types are not supposed to have whatever it is that is in your hand.
And she says, "Oh, a suit type. A suit type, am I?" And she's going to reach into her breast pocket and she's going to pull out a gift, I think, that she's stolen from Incredible Industries. I wonder what it is.
What's the power that you want to convey? And then we'll find a cool object.
Yeah,
for
I'm
it.
thinking it's something kind of brutish, like some kind of like a brute strength kind of thing, or like a or something destructive, maybe like kind of like a telekinesis thing, actually. Yeah, like it's like basically it's like the illusion of subtlety because you can't see it, but it's really just brute force.
Yeah, that feels great. Maybe it's you know what it is? Here's what
I think it might be like, I think it might be a ring, maybe.
I was going to say one of those stress squeezers.
Oh,
sure.
like
the handle things that you squeeze.
Yeah, totally.
And then you squeeze that down and then start to focus.
Yeah. And maybe you can hear like the lockers, the like metal of the lockers kind of creaking as they start to deform, and says, "You're chasing them down. Tell me where they are."
And Roxy cracks her neck and like thumbs one of her like thumbs like a gold tooth in her mouth a little bit, cracks her neck, and you just see like her start to vibrate. Roll me some dice.
Hell yeah. This is, I feel, a moment.
This is a moment for sure.
Aggressor's primed to violate the taboo. Roll the dice. That's me. I'm the aggressor. Appropriate. We've got a 5 for survival and a 4 for decency. So describes crossing the line of the tones of the dominant pole. The aggressor gains 1 resource token and cuts the thread between the factions.
Okay, thread is cut.
And I think this is like Roxy and Liz going to a rooftop.
Yeah.
To shake down a member of the Unstoppable for where that
And I think that what I wanted to say is that first explosion happens. We see an explosion on this rooftop, and that's the cliffhanger that I want to leave us on.
Hell yeah.
All right, but this fucking rules. We have to play more of this. I'm so fucking fired up right now.
Call me back, baby.
we will talk very, very soon. Sean, this fucking ruled. I'm on fire right now. This is electric. Thank you so much for playing this. What was your favorite moment of play today?
Oh my gosh. Anytime I get the chance to make a deal with the devil, that's my favorite shit. So sitting across the table from Rads and then rolling bad, being willing to shake on that deal, it going wrong, and then having no choice or feeling I have no choice but to violate everything I believe in. That's my shit.
That rules. I'm fucking this was great. Thank you so much for following me on this impulse journey of vibes and in terms for leaning into weird pseudo superhero stuff. This was fantastic. So real quick before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
Oh, you can find me you can find me by searching my name, Sean Foer, on startplaying.games if you want to play a game with me. Or you can do scene_4 at TikTok for most of my videos. And I'm also there on YouTube and Instagram, where I post some reels sometimes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for playing this with me. I am absolutely overjoyed. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take a future of me. Thanks, Past Me. And thanks again to Sean for coming on the show. That game was just electric. It had this energy to it. And I am buzzing listening to this game 9 months later. We have a long backlog, y'all. This game ripped. What a treasure. I'm so happy about it. This was fantastic. Anyway, head to the show notes for links to Sean's Start Playing Games profile so you can play a game with Sean yourself, or check out all of the other things that he's got going on. You can find all of that in the show notes, or follow Sean on social media at Scene4. You can also find us on pretty much whichever social media you prefer, at Party of One Pod or Jeff Stormer, depending. And if you enjoy the show and you want to support it, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/partyofonepodcast, and join our Discord community at bit.ly/partyofonediscord. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or Ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/partyofonemerch. Or if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano Saez. We take a listener submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logos by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.